So if you're a developer, you totally know this pain, right? You need a SQL database for your tables, then a NoSQL one for your JSON, and maybe, just maybe, a graph database for all those crazy connections. Before you know it, you're juggling 3 different systems, 3 query languages. It's a mess. Well, what if you didn't have to? There's a new database out there making a really bold claim. What if one database could actually do it all?
And that database is called SurrealDB. Okay, so at its core, it's what's known as a multi-model database. And that phrase right there, that's the key. It means it was built from the ground up to handle pretty much anything you can throw at it. We're talking structured tables like in good old SQL, flexible documents like you'd find in NoSQL, and those interconnected nodes and edges from a graph database. All of it in one single engine. It's a pretty radical idea, trying to simplify the whole back-end mess.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll dig into what this thing actually is. Then we'll look at its secret weapon, something called SurrealQL. We'll check out some real-world use cases, see how it stacks up against the big players, and finally, ask the big question. Is this multi-model approach really the future?
Okay, let's dive right in. What is SurrealDB really? Let's get into the fundamentals of this new database. So, first things first, you gotta know that SurrealDB is, well, it's the new kid on the block. It only officially launched back in 2022. And its whole reason for existing, it's right there in its mission, to make back-end development simpler. I mean, it was literally born from that exact frustration of having to duct tape multiple databases together just to get one app working.
And when you look under the hood, you can see how it tries to balance raw power with some serious flexibility. For instance, it's ACID compliant. Now, that's a big deal. It means your transactions are super reliable, something you usually only get from traditional SQL databases. But then, it also supports live queries. This lets your app get real-time data pushes, which is absolutely perfect for those modern, snappy user interfaces. And get this, you can run it as its own server, or you can embed it right inside your application. That makes it crazy versatile, for anything from a huge web service all the way down to a tiny mobile or edge device. Okay, so all of that brings us to the real magic trick, the glue that holds all this together, SurrealQL. That's its custom query language. And honestly, this is where SurrealDB's big ambition to be a one-stop shop really comes to life. So here is the genius part. Instead of making you learn some completely new, alien syntax, SurrealQL is built on something millions of developers already know and love, SQL. But, and this is a big but, it extends that familiar language so it just works with unstructured documents and graph-style relationships. It's like you get the best of both worlds without the steep learning curve.
Just look at how this works in practice. A single SurrealQL query can do things that would normally be a huge headache. It can select from a regular table, but then in the same query, it can traverse graph edges to find related information and dive into nested JSON data. Think about that. You're performing 3 different kinds of operations, things that would normally need different languages or even different databases, all in one clean single step. So, to wrap this part up, with just one language, one single syntax, you can do it all. You can query deeply nested JSON, you can traverse graph edges like a pro, and you can even define super fine-grained access control for your data. It's just an incredibly powerful and unified way to handle things.
Okay, so the tech is cool, for sure. But where would you actually use something like this? Where does SurrealDB really shine? Let's talk about some real-world use cases.
Yeah, it's a total natural for any app that needs to be super responsive and react to data changes instantly. Think about it. Multiplayer games where you need player positions to sync in real time. Perfect. Or how about those real-time dashboards where a whole team is updating data at the same time? Its live query feature is built for that stuff. It's also a great fit for IoT platforms that are just getting hammered with data from a million devices. And honestly, it's a win for any project where you just need to move fast because you're not wasting all that time trying to manage 3 different database systems.
But of course, SurrealDB isn't just waltzing into an empty room. I mean, the database market is absolutely dominated by giants. So how does this scrappy newcomer stack up against them?
Well, it's actually pretty clever how it positions itself. It's all about what it adds to what the others do. So you take something like Firebase. SurrealDB says, hey, we can give you more structure, which means better data integrity and way more powerful queries. Then you look at a document database like MongoDB. SurrealDB comes in and says, we'll give you real relational and graph features on top of that, so you can handle all those connections natively. And finally, you've got a specialized graph database like Neo4j. SurrealDB's advantage there is that it's much more general purpose. You don't need to go get a second database just for your regular tables and documents.
And that's why this idea of it being a shapeshifter is just perfect. It's not trying to be better than Neo4j at only graphs, or better than MongoDB at only documents. No. Instead, it just adapts. It offers this incredibly flexible and powerful mix of all of their core strengths, all bundled into one single package.
So where does this all lead? What's next for SurrealDB? And maybe more importantly, what does a database like this tell us about where data management as a whole is heading? Well, there are a few really promising signs. First off, it's open source. That is huge for getting developers on board and building trust. Second, the community around it is growing like crazy, with people actively contributing and building things with it. And finally, the project is moving fast. There's active, continuous development with new features and fixes rolling out all the time. You can feel the momentum.
And that really brings us to the final big picture question that a project like SurrealDB forces us all to ask. For decades, the trend in our industry has been towards specialization, a special database for every special task. SurrealDB is making a bold bet against that entire idea. It's suggesting a future where maybe, just maybe, a developer doesn't need to be an expert in 5 or 6 different database systems. So, I'll leave you with this. Is the future of data one database that does it all? SurrealDB is making a pretty compelling case that it just might be.